Okay, guys, I want to thank you for coming in. We're going to be having the presentation right here. So we're going to basically talk about how this whole project came about. If you have questions, come on in here and give me your questions. We'll take care of your questions and go over the whole project. So this is what we call the Real Deal Meetup Caravan event. And what we do at this event is we break down an actual case study from one of my Mastermind students and go through the whole process of finding, rehabbing, the difficulties, what issues came up, and how to hopefully make sure that you guys don't come across the same type of issues. Do me a favor, make sure you don't block that camera right there. So this is going to be truly informational. So it's all about you. What you put into it, you're going to get out of it. So if you got questions, this is the perfect opportunity to get all your questions answered. If you're going to be quiet, I'm going to be honest with you, you must already know it all already, or you just say, I'm going to take the business like a hobby. Because this is all about doing real estate. And that's what this group is all about, the Real Deal Meetup. We're the second largest real estate investing meetup in the nation. We have over 8,000 members, and we've been going on for 10 years now. This is the way we give back to the community. You've already met my wife. Thank you, Tammy. Give her a big hand. And my son, Theodis. And our project here is a perfect situation for what we like to do when we work with people on projects for rental. The key to this project and any rental project is to get in and out with zero money out of your pocket. So this is literally one of those deals where when all is said and done, this project would have been cost him no money out of his pocket whatsoever. So you might as well say zero cash. So we're going to go through how that was achieved, but I want to introduce the two of the three players that's here. First of all, we have Mr. Norman Sharif, who is the actual owner of the property.
Hi.
And then Bob Stroud, who's actually doing the tenant placement on the property.
Good morning.
And then we're going to also have the lender who did the refinance on the property. So we're going to take you through the whole schematics of this whole deal, from finding to rehabbing to financing it, to the point of getting a tenant put into it, to the point of managing it. And as an added bonus, everybody who would take a picture and post it on Facebook while we're doing this presentation, I'm going to give you all of my contractor and rental documents. So what does that consist of? That consists of my contract that I use when we work with a contractor to actually get the property under contract. We work with a contractor, what they need to do, what we expect from them on the job. That's going to also include the waiver that we use for liens. That's going to include the actual analysis of walking through the property. That's going to also include the W-9, the independent contractors agreement. You're going to also get the rental walkthrough sheet we use when we're walking through a property and making sure that that property is in good condition, that we're checking off on. You're going to also get my contract, I call accountability sheet. It's what we use when we give to contractors to tell them what we're expecting in each project. It tells them with how we lay out the scope of work and so on. And I'm going to give you guys all of those documents. All you have to do is take a picture, post it to Facebook, and just let me know at the end of this actual presentation your name, and or just tag in that picture #RealDealMeetup. And that's how I know to send you the information. So you can either come to me with your name or email me the information, your name, cblair109@gmail.com. That's cblair, BLAIR, 109@gmail.com. And that's where you'll basically be able to send me an email to say, Charles, I want your contracting documents. My name is this, and here's my proof that I went ahead and posted the picture. Now, on that picture, when you post it, just say what you think of the meetup. Was it a good meetup? Was it good information? Yada, yada, yada. That's all we're looking for. I'm not looking for you to lie, but if you do lie, you're going to get the documents. If you don't, you won't. But anyway, the key is to give you guys all the information you need for this project. Let's first start about what made you decide choosing this neighborhood. What made you choose this area?
It was basically, the neighborhood is basically very quiet. It's very it's very friendly. Like, my neighbors tell me when something's wrong. I don't really need an alarm system. Which one is here? They'll call me and say, "Hey, Norman, my contractor's got the police called on them." So I like neighborhoods that are almost self-managing, And it's like I could come here at 3 o'clock in the morning and pick up my check if I want to, from if necessary. I just like, I guess what you call A, B neighborhoods.
Right. And this is what we would call, and when you're talking about neighborhoods, they base down on class, A, B, C, D. And generally an A-class neighborhood or a B-class neighborhood is a neighborhood that any bread and butter homeowner would want to live in. And this is definitely a B to A-class neighborhood. Depending on where the locations are at, you can give it that type of classification. So when we're looking at these type of properties, the key thing that we're looking at is like Norman mentioned, we want to get in and out. We want to make sure it's a safe neighborhood, and you got another rental in the same zip code too.
Yeah.
My favorite zip codes like I take my students to be in rental neighborhoods, good zip codes to invest in. This is 21239. Yeah. We also love 21207, 21234, 21214. 21206. We like parts of 21229 and like 21144. So those are what we call our bread and butter neighborhoods where we know we get in the best areas. We're going to get those property rented quickly. We get in on the numbers. And the key to this deal, and we'll go into further details, is getting all in at 75 to 80 cents on the dollar. So what I mean by that, every dime he spent, in holding time, including the actual rehab costs, including the loan, every dime he spent, he's only in at 75% on the dollar, at the most 80% or less. And here's the reason why. Because when he refis, because the goal here is to get your cash, put it in, and then refi and get all of your money out. The lenders that we're working with will refi at 75 cents on the dollar, or 80 cents on the dollar. So he wants to get in less than that so that he can have a deal where it's no money in his pocket, out of his pocket on that deal. And that's how we look at properties. We look at the neighborhoods. We look at opportunities where there's no situations where the person who's doing the deal, when he's finished doing that deal, there's no money that he has to worry about because it's all coming right back to his pocket, right back in his bank, and he just do it over and over and over again. What I mean by that, we're going to do what? How many are you doing this year? You plan on doing?
I want 10.
So 10 a year is going to be the goal. You got 2 already?
Yeah. At least, yeah.
And you got other ones you're working on?
Yeah, I have other ones I'm working on right now.
So at the number of 10 a year, that's perfect. And the key is the property will be self-sufficient. Let's go over some numbers. What was your purchase price?
So the final purchase price was $77K on this property.
So he got in at $77K, and this was what type of property?
REO property.
So this was a bank REO. How long was it on the listing before you bought it?
Like a year, 2, maybe.
So think about that. A lot of times when we're going after REOs, most of the time, the good properties are going in the first 30 days. Because investors pick through them, and when they see a property that comes on the market at a price that makes sense, they'll buy it and jump on it. Which means that this property was on the market for over 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yeah.
Almost 2 years. So why didn't anybody else come at this property? Well, one of the reasons could have been that there could have been price drops. So it may have been on the market at a higher price 2 years ago than what it finally came to when he saw it. But the key is, he knew what his numbers were. He knew that he had to be in at 75 cents on the dollar or less. Keep that in mind, 75 or 80 cents on the dollar or less. So at 70, what was the purchase price?
77.
77 purchase price, and what was the rehab cost?
The total rehab on this one was around like a little under 50K.
Under 50K. You don't have to lock it, just close the door. So it's under 50K. So that means you're in a total of 138, 139?
Like under 127, yeah.
127? Mm-hmm. So if you're in at 127 total, that's all costs.
That's everything.
127 total, all costs. And it's already been set up for refi, already been appraised and everything.
Correct, yes.
What's the appraisal amount came in on the refi?
Around 180.
180. So you're all in at 127. The actual after repair value is 180. The key to his rehab was doing enough so that he could get the actual estimate that he wanted to get the property rehabbed at, which was the 180. So we knew what we need to put into this project to get to that 180. because he was looking for that 75% mark, getting out at 75. Now, on the process of the property that you found on the MLS, how long did it take for you to find this project?
What? We went through what, months? Like 2 months? 3 months? Yeah, around 2 or 3 months till we actually got, well, to find it, then to start the process.
Right, because this is the second one.
This is, yeah.
Because you found 2 of them actually.
Yeah.
So after 2 months, you saw this property, it came up. Now, what was the reason why we didn't see it previously? Was it it just wasn't on the radar at that time?
Yeah, it just wasn't on the radar. One of the real estate agents came and said, Norman, you have to see this property. Like, if you, with the vision I think you have, I think you could do a lot with this one. So she showed me this one and a couple other ones.
Now, this goes back to what he's talking about, his team. And when you're doing buying and holding, there's a process, or should I say a team, that you should have in place. And let's talk a little bit about that. Key members to a team if you plan on doing buying to hold. Number one, you got to have a good title company. It's got to be a real estate investing title company, a company that is going to be that type of company that is going to have your back, that type of company that is going to bend over backwards for you, that type of company that is used to working with investors. That's what you want. Someone that is used to working with investors, because some of our deals can be pretty tricky. We can do double closings. We can do simultaneous closings. We can do a situation where it's an assignment close. We can do LLC closes, and we can do trust closes. All those different types of closes, not to mention subject to and lease with option to buy. All those different types of closing require the right title company to work with. So do your title company need to do all of those if your plan is buying and holding to rent? No. But it does need to do the basics, buying and holding, wholesaling, and assignment type of contracts. It does need to do the basics. But if you're going to really take it to the next level, what we teach people to be is what we call a transaction engineer. How to take any deal and make money off of it. Not just has to be a wholesale, not just to be a rehab. So title company is number one, or should I say one of the main members of your team. Number two, a good contractor. You have to have a good contractor on your team. And these team members I'm telling you about should be in place before you find the house, not after. That's one of the biggest issues most investors get in trouble with. They go looking for a contractor after the fact. Now they're rushing because the hard money lender tell them they need to have this in place and need that in place and so on and so on. And now they're choosing a bad contractor, and now they're losing thousands of dollars. Your contractor should be chosen prior to you putting this property in the contract. Your title company should be chosen prior to you finding this property. Next but not least, once you find that contractor, there are things you want to have in place. You want to make sure that he's licensed and insured and bonded. You want to make sure that contractor is going to have a situation where is he going to be the actual main contractor, or is he going to be subbing everything out? You want to make sure this contractor has a good reputation, talking to people who have done projects with you. And like I told you guys, if you take a picture and share it on Facebook, you're going to get my contractor interview sheet, the same sheet I use to interview contractors to choose the best contractors. So you want to make sure that that contractor is good references. You can even post out on some of the actual bulletin boards and ask about the contractor. Has anybody had any dealings with ABC contractor? What would have been their dealings like, and so on. So those are all the things you want to have to go into place before you get this property under contract. So you got a title company. You got a contractor. And what was the challenges you had looking for your contractor?
I ended up GCing this myself, so I had a lot of challenges between high costs, shady people, and just like hard to find people to do it the way I wanted to do it. So I ended up GCing it myself and subbed out all the work.
Got it. And that's a direction you can go. If you have that knowledge, if you have a mentor behind you, because I work with Norman on this one.
Yeah.
So if you have a mentor behind you, you can GC that project yourself and hire out all the subcontractors to do the work. But there's going to only be one way of doing it. Either you GC it, or you have a contractor that is going to take over the whole project. And the key to that has got to be somebody you trust, because they can rob you blind if you don't know what you're doing. They can really put you in a situation where if you don't know what you're doing on a rehab type of project, it could cost you a lot of money because you don't know what you don't know. And if you're depending on that person to look out for you, 9 times out of 10, the contractor isn't looking out for you. So it's very important that that contractor is made to be a part of your team, and or you have somebody on your team that can guide you through that process of making sure that the contractor is doing everything they're supposed to do and not ripping you off, spreading the work out longer than what it needs to, coming up with different things and so on. Which comes to one of my number one reasons why most people fail in this project. When they work with a contractor in the beginning of the project, you should have a detailed scope of work. From everything from where the nails is going to be nailed down to where the lighting is going to go at and where it's actually going to be done in that whole project. So that there isn't anything that will come up by surprise. Now, that's not always going to be the case. In fact, most of the time, there's going to always be something that wasn't discovered through the walkthroughs. But what is discovered through the walkthrough can be minimized if you have a detailed scope of work to begin with. That's the key. So you want everything that's supposed to be done in this project already written down on paper and the contractor already signing off on it, knowing that everything that's down here is what's supposed to be done. So that there isn't a situation where, oh, I forgot we're supposed to do this. Well, it's on the contract. If you use our contract, the contractor would be penalized for anything that came up that was on the contract that he didn't do. So that's why I say the contract that we use is very user-friendly for the investor. It penalizes for delay of work. It penalizes for missed scopes. It penalizes the person for issues, but it also rewards them too if they get the work done early and so on. So that's key point, making sure you get a detailed scope of work and not just the person telling you, we're going to replace sheetrock, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then that's it. Not to mention your hard money lender ain't going to accept it. Your hard money lender is going to want a detailed scope of work from you, which goes to the third person on your team, the hard money lender or the private lender. Now, a lot of people look at hard money loans and they say, well, the interest rate is high, the terms is high, I don't want to do it. It's the best friend for the real estate investor. Because if you're doing the deal right, regardless if the interest rate is high and the actual terms are high, the deal will still pay for itself. Now, it will pay for itself better if you have private financing in place. If you had somebody that's a rich uncle or a good friend that's going to lend you the money, it would pay for itself better, meaning your profit would be better. But when we go over the numbers with here, you'll see that we have in the Mastermind, we have a lender that all he said, Charles, do you like the deal? And if I say I like the deal, he'll give my students the loan. And that's the situation here. His name is Pimlico Group. And they came in, did a walkthrough, bam. They liked the deal, perfect. On the front end, on the back end, somebody else did the refi, and we're waiting for him to come. I don't think he's here yet. How you doing, Kerry? So the key, though, is making sure that that lender is part of your team, and you know before you put the property under contract what the numbers the lender is working at. How much it's going to be the interest rate, how much the lender is expecting down, how much are they going to be lending you, 75%, 80%, 100% of purchase, 80% of rehab. You want to find out exactly what are those numbers prior to you buying this project, prior to you even getting it under contract. So we got the contractor, we got the lender, we got the actual title company. Those are three main members that should be on your team before you even start looking at a deal. Number 4, real estate agent. That real estate agent is going to be that person who, like in this situation, got him the deal from the bank REOs, set up it was an actual thing where the agent told you all about the deal, right?
Yes.
So having a good real estate agent that knows what you're looking for, did you sign any type of agreement with an exclusive or anything like that?
Yeah, so like you mentioned before, we use MeetUp.com. I put out a feeler, got back about 40 people, interviewed all of them. Then I met her in person. We talked about communication styles, our personalities, how we work together, and how I'm trying to build a team. Then we put on a contract together of how we would work together, where we both signed off on everything we talked about. And now she's kind of like, it could be day or night, she'll call me with a deal, and we work together and like trying to figure out what's the next project.
But she also sends you daily updates and stuff that
like
comes
right
to the
now,
market.
yeah. So I have everything on my, like as of this morning, multi-units in the Mount Vernon, like in other areas we're talking about, as well as other properties in the zip codes that you're talking about. And she's because she deals with other investors, so a deal might come up and say, hey, this investor is backing out. Norman, this is a good deal. You want to jump into it, or she'll find some other off-market deals and bring them to me.
So we're talking about finding that real estate agent where it can be a win-win for everybody. Because one of the hardest things to do is find an agent that says they're going to do this for you. Some agents may even say, well, if you want me to pull comps, you want me to do this, yada, 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 I want you to sign an exclusive agreement. Or I want you to pay for comps. You don't need to find that. You don't need that. You can find that agent out there that's good, that knows what they're doing, that has a track record of working with investors. But the key is what you tell the agent what you're looking for. Don't expect the agent to know what you're looking for. You have to be knowledgeable enough to say, we're looking for properties in these zip codes. We want to be totally in at 75, 80 cents on the dollar once all work is done, once all expenses are paid. That's what we're looking for. So if you can find something in these zip codes, we'll buy them. You got any investors who have properties in those zip codes with the numbers we're looking for, we'll buy them. That's the key. You directing that agent because the agent works for you. It's not the other way around. I know a lot of people take a lot of bull from agents because they feel as though the agent isn't working for them, they're working for the agent. No. The agent works for you. If you can't find an agent that's willing to do what you do when you need to do it, fire them. Get another one. There's a lot of them out there that's hungry and willing to do what you need to do. One red flag, if you call an agent and it takes 48 hours for that agent to call you back. I mean, one of my biggest pet peeves is calling agents and their voice message is full. I mean, to me, it's like, are you a business person or is this a hobby? And that's with any business. I can't understand how someone who has a business will have a full voice message box. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, agents in place, title companies in place, contractor in place. We already talked about having the actual financing in place. So he's got a financing person for the front end. He's going to also want a financing person for the back end when he refis. Because remember, the hard money lender, 9 times out of 10, they're not letting you hold this for long term. They're letting you hold it at the most 6, 12 months. Yeah. At the most. Now, there's some hard money, quote, I would call them hard money actual lenders that say they're hard money lenders, but they'll do what's called 30 years and 25 years fixed loans and so on. But the majority of the hard money lenders you and I will work with, they only want to hold the deal no more than a year, at the most 18 months, which means you got to find a lender that was going to refinance the deal out for you. That's going to be the key. So we're talking about 2 lenders as being part of your team. The hard money lender and the person that's going to refinance you out so you can get all your money back and you can be $0 in pocket in the deal. Now, we found a guy that not only would do the refi for us, but it would be no seasoning. So what do I mean by that? Tell them.
So a lot of banks will want you to have not only the property rehab, but have a tenant in here for, on average, around 6 months. Some I got to talk down to 3 months. But 6 months before they would refi, I'll help you refi. But your hard money loan, depending on where you got it, that's way past the time. So that's a seasoning period. So this guy, as soon as construction is done, well, there are 2 types of loans. As soon as it's done, well, he could talk about more. Depending on the loan you go after with the person I went with, I had a cheaper interest rate once I got a tenant in here versus when the construction is completed. So mine is a no seasoning at the point of I just get a tenant, I give them the lease, and they'll do the refi immediately.
So in other words, as soon as he identifies a lease to a tenant, he's able to refi. The tenant doesn't have to be moved in. No. It doesn't have to be a situation where he owned the property for 8 months, 6 months, even 3 months. If he had purchased this property and the property was already in this condition, and as soon as he got a tenant listed for this property, he can do the refi. That's what we're talking about, no seasoning refi. Most of them is going to be 3 to 6 months worth of seasoning. What they mean is they want to see a tenant that's in the property for at least 3 to 6 months of making payments. That's what most of the refi lenders will do. Now, the key to what we're talking about here is the reason why he went with this guy was 1, no seasoning. 2, he got all of his money back out because this is the second time he's using the same lender. All of his money back out prior to the whole point of the properties being totally rented. Now, what he can do with that? Well, the money's out, another project. The money's out, Another project. No money out of his pocket whatsoever. And on this one, let's look at the numbers on this. The actual after repair value, or should I say the appraised value that the lender gave you was 180?
Yeah, around 180. Yeah.
180, and you're in totally at 127.
Correct.
And they did a 75. Which one are you going to do, 75 or 80%?
I'm doing 75%.
He's doing 75% loan to value, which came up to a total of?
What was that? That was $770.
So his payment on this one is $770. Now, bring in your tenant placement company, because the key part to this is if you're not going to management, you're going to do tenant placement. Bob, introduce yourself to everybody.
Good morning. My name is Bob Stroud. I'm a managing partner of Prime Match Tenant Placement. What we do is we find tenants for landlords. The process works. We'll come out, evaluate, and do an assessment of your property, and we do background checks on the potential tenants that we have in our database. Well, the first thing we do, like I said, when we do the assessment, we have to figure out whether your property, meets our criteria to be accepted into our program. And as I said, we have a database of tenants that are qualified, hence the name Prime Match. So we found a tenant for Norman.
And this is the second one you guys found, what?
Second
Keep it to
tenant that we found for Norman. This is how the process works. Some landlords, they'll just be happy to have a tenant. Folks will come out and tell okay, I'll do anything, to get into this property. They have the security deposit. They have their friends on their applications, to vouch for them. So we do it a little bit differently. We of course we check their credit, we check their employment history, we check the sex offender list, which is actually pretty prevalent in not only in Baltimore but all over the country. Another thing we do, it's a little trick that we use. We have folks set up appointments to come out to check out properties. If your appointment's at noon, we'll ask them to send us a text at 11 o'clock to say that you're actually going to come. And that's the first cut right there, because I'm telling you, less than 50% of the people will confirm their appointment.
I just walked out.
We live, we're basically, we come up from PG County, so we don't want to come out here and folks not show up. So as a landlord, you need some, a person like us, you got your refis and everything else that you're working on, your contractors, knowing that at the end of the process that you'll have a qualified tenant, just makes the process work smoother.
And when you have a good tenant placement company, and remember there's a couple ways to do this. One of which is you manage it. Two of which is hire a property management company. Or third one is hire a tenant placement company.
Right.
With all of my Mastermind students, I advise them to get their feet wet on your first or second deal. Learn the process of managing it. Because if you can manage your property, you can manage your actual property managers. If you've never managed a property management company before, they could rip you off. So get some experience in managing your own property, even if it's no more than the first 2 or 3 that you get. And that's what Norman is doing here. He's going to wind up doing his first 2 or 3. You're going to do self-management. Mm-hmm. And he may wind up hiring a company when he gets to 5, 6, 7, or 8. But by that time, he knows how to qualify that management company, and he knows how to manage it. Because no company will manage it like you unless you know how you want it managed. Now, when you're working with a tenant placement company, it's the best of both worlds. It works best when investors are new, to the point of not knowing how to qualify, not having the time to go out and do the qualifying. If you work a full-time job, this guy does all the work for you. He qualifies the people. He does the background check. He does the credit reports. He goes to the people property home and see where they're looking at, what it looks like right now. He does all of what that's needed to be done. And then he says, these are the tenants that we like. Mr. Landlord, which one do you want? So he's not choosing them for you. He's presenting them to you and say, which one do you like? And then you choose that one that you like. And if he's, okay, bam, let's get the lease signed. Bam, he's gone. Now Norman takes over. All Norman has to do is just come to the signing table to sign the lease. He don't have to get out from work. He don't have to do any background checks. He don't have to do anything. Just turn it over. That's what we call systemizing and automating your business. A tenant placement company is a great source for it. And tell them your information.
I have some flyers and some cards in the window back there. You can go to our website. It's primematchtenantplacement.com, but I encourage folks to take flyers since I bought them here and produced them this morning. And I have some cards back there as well. Our numbers are 888-868-6291, but as I said, all the information is on the flyers as well. We also handle assessments for Section 8. When voucher tenants,
Great.
when voucher tenants are, about to rent your property, it has to be looked at by, the Section 8 people. So we'll handle all that for you, as well as the paperwork. And as Charles said, actually, it's like, you can do it yourself if you have a qualified tenant. When you have a company, that's because you have a tenant that always has something. But if you have somebody that's in here that you're confident with, it's kind of like self-management. They kind of